everyone, welcome back to Bio with Miss Lisa. Today we are going to talk about the overview of photosynthesis and its stages. Okay. So there are two stages of photosynthesis. We have the light reactions, or the light-dependent reactions, and the light-independent reactions. I have them listed here: light-dependent reactions, light-independent reactions. Okay. So the light reactions, the light-dependent reactions, I'll just write here, it takes place in the thylakoid. Okay, so I've written it here, it occurs in the thylakoid of the chloroplast, and the light-independent reactions occurs in the stroma of the chloroplast. In a different video, I can talk about where those locations are, but tentatively, if here's our diagram of the chloroplast, we have the outer membrane, the inner membrane. The thylakoid, we have these discs that are stacked on top of each other. Each of these discs is called a thylakoid. And the stroma is the whole area around the chloroplast, or around the thylakoids that's within the chloroplast. Actually, I can just quickly pull one up, a chloroplast diagram. Here we go, we have a diagram. You can see our stroma is everything outside and around our thylakoids. So these granum are actually a bunch of thylakoids stacked on top of each other. Okay. So over here, each thylakoid would be one of these black discs and these black lines, and our stroma would be the light gray areas that are around all of these discs. Okay. All right, so let's go back over here. So what is our goal of the light-dependent reactions? Well, we can see we're taking solar or light energy and we are converting it into chemical energy in the form of ATP and NADPH. This is really our goal. I've written it here. Okay. In this process, the light-dependent reactions, what do they need to use to do this? Well, they're going to use solar energy. They're going to use water. Okay. And what are they going to produce? They're going to produce oxygen. They're going to produce ATP, and they're going to produce NADPH. Our ultimate goal is to produce ATP and NADPH. And I've written that down here for you. Technically, yes. In order for us to produce ATP, we need to have ADP and phosphate in the cell, but it's always there, okay? Every time the Calvin cycle uses this ATP, it's going to turn back into ADP and phosphate. Same with when the Calvin cycle uses this NADPH, it's going to turn back into NAD+. But we can still put it here. What does it use? It uses NADP+, and it also uses ADP and phosphate. Okay. All right. So now let's move on to the Calvin cycle. So our light reactions produced ATP and NADPH. Why? Because the Calvin cycle needs that chemical energy to fix carbon into sugars. So what is our goal of the Calvin cycle? Well, our goal is to fix carbon dioxide into sugars. And I've put that here, to fix carbon dioxide into sugars. But where do we get the energy to attach these carbons and build a sugar molecule? Well, we get that energy from the ATP and the NADPH that we produced in the light reactions. And so I've put that here. So we went from solar energy, we turned our solar energy into chemical energy during the light-dependent reactions, and then we used this chemical energy to convert carbon dioxide into sugars in the Calvin cycle. Okay. All right. So let's see. So why does the Calvin cycle need carbon dioxide to make sugar? Well, sugar is, remember, a carbon molecule. Okay. It's a 6-carbon molecule. And so to build it, we need to get those carbon atoms from something. So where do we get those carbon atoms? We get them from carbon dioxide. Right? We can't build something out of carbon if we don't have any carbon to build it with. Like we can't build a house out of bricks if we don't have any bricks, right? So we can't build a sugar out of carbon if we don't have carbon atoms. All right, so that would be this question here. And why don't plant cells just keep storing the energy as ATP and NADPH. Why do they need to convert it into glucose? Well, glucose has so many uses for the cell, which we talked about. They can turn the glucose into cellulose to build cell walls. They can turn the glucose into starch for energy storage. And actually, from that glucose molecule, instead of just getting two ATP or a few ATP, it can break that sugar molecule down in cellular respiration and get 38 ATP. Okay. All right, so let's go over. So what did the Calvin cycle use? It used ATP, it used NADPH. Okay. And what did it produce? Oh, and I'm sorry, it also used carbon dioxide. And what did it make? It made a sugar molecule. It did technically make NAD plus and ADP and phosphate. So I hope that answers any questions you might have about the overview of photosynthesis. All right.